how you could become a millionaire in property just by getting old. We've heard it all before, haven't we? You don't wait to buy property, you buy property and wait. Time in the market always beats timing the market. And the reality is, some of the most successful property investors, successful business owners have done so because of one thing: time. And what impacts this time is something called the compound effect. Now, let me help you understand what the compound effect is. And essentially, it's growth on growth. So if growth worked in a linear function, which is basically a straight line, it would look like this. So growth would go, oh, let's say 100 grand over a year. You might go 25 grand, 25 grand, 25 grand, and 25 grand. But that's just not how compounding works. It's not how return on investments work. It works through something called compounding. And so your graph would look a lot more like this, where over the year it would go like this, and then your growth in business would accelerate. But that is true of investment as well. A famous example of this is if you double a penny a day. And would you prefer £100,000 today, or would you prefer a penny that doubles in value for 40 days straight? So with context, you'd probably say the penny, but without thinking, most people would go, well, I'll take the 100 grand all day. Well, how much does a penny doubling a day even get to? Because even if you do it mathematically in your head, 1 pence, 2 pence, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, eventually your head goes, I can't compound. Because your brain doesn't work like that. It goes up and up and up, and it's exponential. But that's not the point. It's to show the power of compounding, because your head goes 1 pence, 2 pence. And it's like your day 15, it's still close to nothing. I'll take the 100K. In fact, it doesn't become beneficial until after 22 or 23 days, where the big benefit of compounding really comes into play. So this is really important because it's very much like planting a seed that over time gravitates and grows to this exponential level. And if we look on this graph, notice how we're still compounding at the same rate here, but it accelerates a lot more here. So the benefit of compounding is through time. And the longer that you've got on this axis, which is time, the faster it accelerates. So let's translate this to property, and I've put a link to this software in the description. It's completely free, strongly recommend everyone uses it. I use it a lot for sourcing, analyzing, and financing deals, and it's called LENDLORD, okay? So it's in the description, click on it, register it, and then watch the rest of this video. I promise you, you will not regret it. It's the best software in property by far. So I've gone in, and just so you know, here's how I'm finding it. So this is LENDLORD's front page, if you like, and you've got 3 core areas: invest, manage, and finance your deal. So I'm going to go on invest, going to click on deal analyzer, and then I'm just typing in an address for, like, it doesn't really matter. So I'll go for 2 Haddon Place. There we go, in Burley, I'm going to go 200,000, and let's just say 1,200 rent. But it doesn't matter, and I'm proceeding. And what I've done is I'm scrolling down to these bits at the bottom. So here's one I made earlier. So I've done a default scenario at 5% capital growth. Just so you know, long-term capital growth in the UK is about 7.9% per year. That's since the Doomsday Book almost 1,000 years ago. You can't guarantee that. And is it going to be every year? No, it's because some years it will be way higher. COVID was 12% a year, for example. And some, they're going to be lower. The year after COVID, it was something like 4%. So it's going to average out over time. Number 2, you have to get it in a great area, which is why area is so important when you're investing. The area, in fact, is way more important than the house itself. So default scenario, I've done it at 5% capital growth. Best case scenario, I've done it at 7% growth. And worst case scenario, I've done it at 3%. And I want to show you how this actually impacts. So income, expensive, cash flow, I've done them at 0. So ignore this bit here. This is the bit you're focusing on, okay? This graph here. And I want you to see that when you're buying this property for 200,000, how it compounds over time, all right? Now remember, I want you to have in your head, how long are you looking to own this property? Because my exit is death. And I'm 33 years old at the time of filming. And I'm like, I'm really hoping death is maybe in like 50, 60, 70 years. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But this is a 10-year format that you're seeing, and I want to show you why it's so important to factor in compounding and capital growth, and why it's so important to get the right area in the first place. So first of all, 5% capital growth. So year one, we've grown by £10,000. So you can see the property value is 210,000, and now my equity is £60,000. But my balance stays the same on my mortgage because I bought this 75% loan to value with a mortgage. If you don't know this, mortgages are interest only, so you're going to see mortgage all the way through at 150 because we're not going to be paying that down. Do not pay it down, is my opinion. So you see it starts compounding. Now, year two, and I really want to show you this, you'll notice it's not gone up £10,000. It's gone up 10,500. And this is the start of the compound effect. You might go, well, it's only £500 difference, Jamie. It's not that big of a deal. You know, if it went up 5% of the original value, it's only 10 grand, 5% of 200,000, but it's gone up 10,500 because it's also gone up 5% on top of the £10,000. And this is what happens in property. Small movement, but look at what it looks like. So year three, we would be, if it was simple growth, which is that straight line, we'd be at 230,000, but now we're at 231,525. And the gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I want to use an example of going all the way to year 10, which is now 325,000, by the way. If it was simple growth, 5% a year, it would grow by £10,000 a year. So in 10 years, that would be 300,000. But because of the compounding, it's an extra 25,778. Now, stay for a second, because I want to show you what this looks like on a real macro scale, okay? And how it impacts it. So first of all, you can tell I'm getting excited by this already, can't you? So first of all, I want to show you, how does area impact this? Well, first of all, let's go to an all right area, but nowhere near. So we've made, on average, 5%, 325,000. That's 125 grand just from the asset. But let's go to a not as good area, and I've done the growth here at 2% appreciation. I said 3% earlier, I meant 2%. So it's still good, it still might get income, but over a 10-year period, it's only gone up 43 grand. So I have missed out on £82,000 we've lost out. Now, if I go to the best case scenario, where I've said 7%, bear in mind we're really long-term average 7.9%, we've now got 393 grand. So that's almost doubled in value. That is absolutely insane. Okay, just from capital growth, in simple terms, has been 10% a year. Okay, so 7% compounded over a 10-year period is at the 10% a year. But get this, notice the growth of the curve. This is the stuff you should get obsessed with and get turned on by, which apparently I clearly am. We need to get excited by, look at how flat it looks here, and look at how much growth it looks over here. Now, let's add in time. Now, I want you to think about when's your exit? And when I go, people, my exit's death. I currently, as of today, own 101 properties. I've got, between investing in others and going through legals now, another 41 of them. So 142 properties in total at some point of the process of buying, refurbing and owning, right? So when am I going to sell them? I'm not. I'm going to die, and then my kids will inherit it, and then eventually, inevitably lose 50% of it in the first divorce, right? Just kidding. Or am I? I don't know. I better protect that. So the point is that actually, my exit hopefully is 50 years from now, but let's just keep it on this. It's not how much it goes up by. Let's go back to the 5%. I want you to focus on the shape of the graph. And yes, I might be the only person in property that gets obsessed with that, but this is how you become a millionaire, not your fucking rental payment. I'm sorry I'm so passionate about that. You can bleep that out, Amy. But let's look at 20 years. Here. So we got 20 years, and you start to see that curvature go up again. And by the way, this is our normal scenario. In 20 years, it's worth 530,000. I know what some of you are going to say, and it only goes up for 30 years. And I know you're going to go, bullshit, Jamie. You're telling me in 30 years, a £200,000 property is going to be worth over 800,000. Yes, I'm telling you it's going to be worth 864,000 factually, mathematically, statistically. So haters can stick their opinions up their arse. This is based on almost 1,000 years of evidence. I am sure if you go back 50 years ago, where the average property was worth £1,900 with a car on the drive worth more than the house, and you said to them, by the way, in 50 years, the average property price is going to be 280,000. They go, BS. Got a bit excited there, didn't I? Here's the compound effect, okay? It's just maths. Is it going to go up like that every single year? No. Is it likely that the percentage growth might reduce over time? Yes. But when you factor in the basic economics of supply and demand, and then factor in that it's not just about birth and death rates anymore, which look at the country, we've also got a worldwide culture now. We've got immigration, which is incredibly high, which from an investor's point of view is bloody good news, by the way. I'm geeking out on this. I'm going to go away from these pictures because I'm just getting a bit nerdy. But this is powerful, and the reason I love LENDLORD isn't just because of this graph. Obviously, it's the fact that I can look at that, make predictions, I can edit my scenarios, I can manage all of these outcomes, and then the cool thing for me on LENDLORD is I don't want to miss out on opportunities. So this isn't even the feature that I really should be talked about, but what I love is at a click of a button I can fund the deal. And that's the thing that I really love, is chucking it in and going, well, I don't want to buy everything cash. I'd rather use bridging so I can buy it and refinance on a long-term product. Click a button, get a call, and I get it going through. And hand on heart, they are the best team and most efficient team that I've ever worked with in my life. So check it out yourself. Play around with it. I know I'm just showing you this. There's so much more on here, but this is the thing that I really wanted you focusing on and really understanding. I mean, look at that growth. Look how flat that looks the first 10 years there to there versus the back end of this 30 year. Look at that. And you can imagine 40, 50. Anyway, I'm going to get off this because I'm getting too excited. But genuinely, have it in your head that compound is so important, and where you buy it is the most important thing. Rather than the price of the property, the rental returns, the single most important thing is the fundamentals of where you're buying the property. That is the compound effect. That is it in a line. It matters because if you want to be a millionaire, that's where we do it. So how do we take advantage of this compound effect? Because it's not just in there, by the way, it's also in the rent. If you think there's all that demand in that area where supply is here and demand's higher, it's very likely that renters are going to have the same thing, where there's too many people that want to rent a property versus that, which also gives rental growth rather than capital growth. So your rents will also compound over time. Our areas, we typically get about 8% a year. In some years, a lot more, but we like capping it because we just don't want to do that to renters and overinflate it. But it's really powerful. This is an amazing opportunity that we need to see. So how do you take advantage of this? Ideally, you could go back in time 10 years. But let's face it, all of us would go back 10 years and make the investment and take the action. And all you can do today is take the action that the version of you in 10 years thanks you for. Because the last thing that you want is in 10 years' time to think back to any moment and go, I wish I invested then. And there's so many people I talk to that go, is now the right time? Should I wait? And it's like, dude, you've been saying that for years. Like, get out of your own way. And this is where LENDLORD really comes in, because you can take your opinion out of it and just look at the stats. But I'll put it in the description, the link to it. It's completely free. There's no thing. There is a premium feature on there, which is insane as well, for like nothing a year. It's too cheap. Check it out. Look for yourself and put your own property where you live in it, because it also tells you what the capital growth is, looks at all of the facts, so it'll extrapolate. So put your personal address on it and play around with it. It will blow your mind. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. If you did get value, do me a favor, hit the like button. I know it might seem like a small thing, but it really tells the algorithm to show it to more people like you. So please hit the like button, it really does make a difference. And if you're new to the channel or you've not even subscribed yet, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell. It's a really good measure of people getting value and hopefully grows the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.